but
I don't love the velvet dinner jacket, but
I love that.
They had a nice one. That's why I asked. They had one with like it was like small dot. Like that's fine.
Well, I want to keep my jacket on in the joint.
Gary Buick because I don't have Tom Ford money. So
Gary Buick. Go take your ass to Century 21 or wherever you be going. It's over. They got us.
Century 21
Macy's
closed for years, and I'm never. Yo, chill out, bro.
Go to Livingston Mall. But there's nothing wrong with you getting your look from Macy's.
It's not.
Like nobody is shaming that.
No, there's nothing wrong with getting your look from
poor.
Macy's. I know. None at all.
His pride won't let him walk in with a suit from Macy's, which is the sick part about men.
It's sick.
I mean,
I'm gonna start. You're hypocritical that you do.
Get that rewind.
That's the problem. Then he'll
Hit the rewind on me
because he won't allow you to make him look stupid. He'll say, "I'm a hypocrite," which takes all of the fight out of it.
That's what Ice does too.
Yeah, both of y'all. I'm a hypocrite. So it's a horrible defense. There's no accountability on your goofy. I'm a hypocrite. So I lie a lot. So all right. Okay, we would.
Flip, don't you come in there wearing some car vest? I'm not playing with you. I'm telling you, I swear for God.
What's gonna happen?
I got you.
You won't get in.
I got you.
The dynamic between Joe Budden and his podcast co-hosts has always been one of the main attractions of the show. Listeners tune in not just for the cultural commentary or the industry insight, but for the interpersonal battles that unfold in real time. These aren't staged debates or rehearsed performances. They're lived-in conversations where pride, ego, wit, and insecurity all crash against one another. And in one particular moment, Ish decided to flip the script on Joe, calling out a tactic that Joe has mastered over years of conversation: the use of hypocrisy as a shield. The setup was typical for the podcast. Joe had been teasing Ish about his shopping habits, questioning the clothing stores he chose to frequent. For Joe, clowning his friends is as natural as breathing. But Ish didn't let the banter slide. Instead, he accused Joe of relying on a rhetorical trick. Whenever he feels cornered in a debate, Joe simply labels himself a hypocrite. By admitting it outright, Joe removes the sting of criticism, and in doing so, he takes away his opponent's best weapon. It's a maneuver that makes the fight feel pointless because once someone has already declared themselves guilty of the very charge you're leveling against them, what else is there left to argue? This wasn't just Ish complaining about a single conversation. It was him pointing out a broader strategy that Joe has perfected over time. Hypocrisy becomes not a weakness, but a tool. Joe reframes it as part of his personality, a known flaw he owns so brazenly that his critics can't score points with it. It's like a boxer stepping into the ring and telling the crowd before the first punch is thrown, "Yes, I've got a glass jaw." Once that's out there, every hit to the chin feels less like an embarrassing revelation and more like something expected. Ish's frustration came from the way this technique strips accountability from the discussion. If Joe is always able to hide behind the label of hypocrisy, then no criticism can truly land. To understand why this matters, you have to look at the mechanics of conversation within the Joe Budden podcast. Each participant has their own role. Joe is the instigator, the one who throws the first stone and then critiques the reaction. Ish often positions himself as the voice of reason, steady and measured, though quick to defend himself when teased. Parks, seated behind the boards, adds commentary that often nudges the others toward clarity or humor. Ice balances humor with cynicism. Within that mix, accountability is slippery. Joe thrives in the gray area, where calling out flaws is entertainment and admitting to them is performance. What is highlighted in that moment is the way Joe weaponizes contradiction. For Joe, being a hypocrite isn't a disqualifier, it's a strategy for survival. When he admits to inconsistency, it keeps him untouchable because it reframes every critique as something he has already acknowledged. The conversation ends not in resolution, but in exhaustion. The other person is left without leverage because Joe has already pulled the rug out from under them. This approach mirrors a larger cultural trend. Hypocrisy in public life, once considered bad, has become increasingly normalized. Politicians are caught in lies, but dismiss them with a shrug. Celebrities are accused of contradictions in their behavior, but by admitting to their flaws in interviews or lyrics, they defang the criticism before it can grow. In many ways, Joe's rhetorical trick is simply a reflection of the world he inhabits, where contradictions are not only expected but accepted. But Ish's point cuts deeper. By normalizing hypocrisy, the accountability that should come with criticism gets diluted. A man can acknowledge that he's inconsistent, self-contradictory, or flawed, but if he never allows that acknowledgement to change his behavior, the admission becomes meaningless. It's confession without repentance, awareness without growth. For Ish, the frustration comes from Joe refusing to let a debate lead to any real reckoning. Instead, the fight ends in stalemate, with Joe laughing off his own contradictions and moving on to the next topic. The shopping example may seem trivial, but that's precisely what makes it such a revealing case. Clothing is not just fabric, it's identity, status, and pride. Joe teasing Ish about where he shops is not about jackets or department stores. It's about the subtle hierarchies of taste and the judgments men pass on each other through fashion. Ish defending himself is less about Macy's or Century 21 and more about the right to his own choices without being painted as less stylish, less sophisticated, or less worthy. When Joe shields himself with hypocrisy, it denies Ish the satisfaction of winning the debate on equal terms. This moment also reflects something larger about male friendship dynamics. Within groups of men, teasing is common, but it often masks deeper insecurities. Pride, as Ish pointed out, plays a major role. For many men, the clothes they wear are tied to how they see themselves, and any attack on those choices is felt as an attack on their manhood. Joe's refusal to concede, his ability to laugh off contradictions, becomes both a strength and a weakness. It allows him to maintain dominance in the conversation, but it also creates a cycle where accountability is always out of reach. In the broader landscape of the podcast, this tactic is part of Joe's brand. He thrives on conflict but rarely allows it to reach true resolution. It's what keeps the show entertaining. Listeners don't tune in to hear Joe admit defeat. They tune in to hear him spin his way out of corners, to watch him frustrate his co-hosts, and to see how far the conversation can spiral before anyone decides it's time to move on. Ish calling him out, however, broke that rhythm. It forced listeners to recognize the mechanics of the performance. It showed the audience the wires behind the puppet show. What makes Ish's critique powerful is that it doesn't just apply to Joe Budden. It applies to anyone who uses self-awareness as a shield. In a world where admitting to flaws has become trendy, the real question is whether those admissions lead to change. Hypocrisy, when owned, can sound like honesty, but if it becomes a way to avoid responsibility, then it's not honesty at all. It's manipulation. In the end, Joe may see hypocrisy as a clever tactic, but Ish's frustration was rooted in a desire for accountability. Clothing debates aside, the larger issue is whether people in positions of influence should be allowed to endlessly sidestep criticism through self-deprecation. At some point, admitting to hypocrisy without addressing it becomes a performance, and performances, no matter how entertaining, can only distract from reality for so long.